One of my goals in restoration of this Atwater Kent 627 Lowboy cabinet has been to have not only a good working radio, but also a beautiful piece of furniture. And I've been slowly getting to that point, and I'm really liking what I'm seeing. I've been doing thin multiple coats each night of the polystane from Minwax. I know a lot of folks on the antique radio forums really don't like this stuff. Guys, if you saw my earlier video and you saw the condition of this cabinet when I picked it up, you'll see this is a huge improvement. So I lost count of how many coats I've put on. I just put another thin one on the front sides, and I started doing some of the detail work. The sides of the doors. I masked off the radio itself and the beautiful toned wood from the original to protect that. Started on the legs, doing thin coats, and I'm actually using one of those little sponge brushes that you can get at Michael's or the dollar store to do this detail work, and it's going to work out really nice. I want to do the same thing with multiple thin coats, and really want to focus next on the legs, which I'm guessing are going to be a little bit of work, not too bad. I might use the sponge brushes for the legs as well, because I really like how that worked out. And you know, keep the socks and the rags aside. Just so you know, for the Finnish police that are out there, when this thing is all done, I'm going to follow Minwax's recommendations and put on some clear coat to protect the finish itself. So this is a work in progress, and I think a lot of people forget, because of YouTube and the instant gratification of the internet, projects take a lot of work, and Rome was not built in a day, as my father used to say. So I'm really happy with the progress on this set. To mask it off, I just used some old newspaper flyers, a couple of pieces of masking tape up there, and then tuck the paper behind those two sides where the doors come in. So really don't have much of a risk of getting splatter on that inner radio faceplate or on the radio dial. So what do we have left? Well, it's been torrential rain for the last 4 or 5 days here in New England, so stringing up a dedicated long wire and ground has been out of the question, just out of the question. I probably won't get to it till, I'm guessing, if not this weekend, then maybe the following weekend. Again, not in a rush, and Rome was not built in a day. We need to get, once everything is said and done, we need to get this beautiful brass escutcheon back on. And what I'm going to look for at either Home Depot or Lowe's are 3 small brass nails. If I can't find them in brass, I'll probably look for black ones and maybe even put some brass paint on the heads of each one of those so they don't stick out like a sore thumb. But I've got this thing polished up to the point where it's not perfect, but but it looks a heck of a lot better than it did, and it's still going to look like a 86-year-old radio. You know, well, I don't mean to go on a rant, but maybe I will. You know, and maybe I'm envious, I don't know, but I watch some of these radio restoration videos, and I think some guys maybe go a little bit overboard to the point where they try to make their sets look like brand new. There's a certain amount of charm or kind of respect that you have for vintage electronics and vintage Americana. I don't think a radio needs to look like a disaster. And certainly this one, it's going to look great when it's done. But I watch some of these guys and they, every last minutia and every, to the point of polishing the chassis and just getting it, spending so much time on it. I wish I had that time. I wish I knew of a way to if I could clone myself, I would. I don't have enough hours in the day. I mean, this is my hobby. It's not a career. I have a career in technology. So this to me is a relaxing kind of pastime. And I just want to respect it as such. I take a huge risk putting these videos out there on YouTube. The folks with the low EQ or low emotional intelligence, they're the first ones to just jump all over you, and they can't post to a video fast enough. You're doing it all wrong, and replace all the capacitors and stuff like that. I lucked out with this set. The chassis was in good condition. I just had to touch up a couple of solder joints and replace a vacuum tube. You saw the underneath of the chassis. It's got all those nice Sprague orange drops. They'll probably outlive me, and I'm not worried about it. I'm not looking at this set as a ticking time bomb. I'm looking at it as something that can provide tremendous pleasure and that can be an heirloom I can hand down to my son, that someday he can tell his friends, yeah, my dad did this. He was into vintage radio receivers and he left this for me. It's about leaving a legacy, and it's about kind of having a respect for what came before us and what we can make out of it. If getting every last piece of patina or rust off of a chassis, if that's what gets you going, be my guest. Go nuts. But again, I just don't have the time. And I guess to wrap it up here, I'm really happy with this set and how it's coming out. Obviously, we got a few places we gotta do some touch up on. I just saw right here what my dad used to call a holiday, and I think when I do my next detail coat on these sides and on the legs, I'm going to get that sponge brush and get into that corner right there. So it's not going to be perfect. It's going to be darn nice when it's all done. And another thing, just to wrap up here, I took some flack for not stripping it, not using an original, maybe getting it back to original finish. Guys, this is my radio. I'm going to do whatever the hell I want with this set. And this was the color I selected. This was the finish that I selected, and you know, for bad or worse or for good, I'm happy with it. So hope you enjoyed this video. Give me a thumbs up, a thumbs down, tell me to jump off a cliff. More videos in this series to come. Take care for now.